So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the Pasteur Network community, to everyone here. Welcome to this new monthly seminar, and thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Hisham Ben Hassim. I recently joined the Pasteur Network as knowledge sharing platform coordinator, and I will be from now on in charge of the monthly seminars for the Pasteur Network. Before joining the Pasteur Network, I worked for 15 years at the Institut Pasteur in Tunis as head of a unit called Communication, Science and Society. So, as usual, we will begin the seminar by giving the floor to the speakers, and after that, we will have a Q&A session. You can share your question in the chat or ask your question orally during the Q&A session. And please, as asked by Rebecca just previously, make sure that your microphone and camera are switched off during the conference to ensure that the seminar runs smoothly. So, presentation during this seminar are, in general, we reserve it to members of the Pasteur Network, but we also open it to external members like Université de Montréal here, Faculty of Medicine of Université de Montréal, when areas of collaboration are identified. And you will see that we have many areas of collaboration that could be identified with the Faculty of Medicine of Montréal. So, today's seminar is entitled The Faculty of Medicine at Université de Montréal, Partnership Opportunities to Address Global Health Challenges. And we are very pleased to have with us our two speakers, Dr. Patrick Cossette, which is the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine at the Université de Montréal, and Ekat Critical, Vice Dean for Research and Development, Faculty of Medicine at Université de Montréal. Patrick Cossette is the Dean of the faculty, and since October 2020, he holds a master's degree in neuroscience from Université de Montréal and also a PhD in human genetics from McGill University. Through his research work on genetics and epilepsy, he participated in many discoveries of numerous genes linked to the diseases. Alongside his research activities, Dr. Cossette has held several management positions. He was Deputy Director of Clinical Research and responsible for mentoring at the University of Montreal Hospital Research Center before becoming head of the Neurology Department and co-manager of the Neurological Science Client Group. His extensive knowledge of how research works and hospital issues gave him the opportunity to be part of the working committee mandated for the creation of the new Department of Neuroscience and became the first chair of the Department of Neuroscience in April 2015. He also received the Maud Montaigne Prize from the Canadian Institute of Health Research for the excellence of his research and was named one of the Canadian leaders in neurology by the Canadian Neurological Society. Our second speaker is Ekat Critical, so Vice Dean of Research and Development, Faculty of Medicine at Université de Montréal. Dr. Ekat has traveled a long way across Europe and North America before landing to Montreal. She holds a PhD in Development and Cancer Biology from the University of Cambridge in the United Kingdom and continued her postdoctoral studies in the field of development genomics at the University of Zurich in Switzerland. She then worked as an editor for Nature Publishing Group in London and Boston offices. Appointed interim scientific director of the CSU Sainte-Justine Research Center in Montreal between 2016 and 2017, and holding the position of associate director scientific development since 2017, Dr. Critical led the strategic planning of the center and carried out several major philanthropic projects for this institution. Since her nomination as Vice Dean, Research and Development in October 2020, she has been leading major strategic initiatives for the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Montreal, promoting partnership and collaboration with other institutions and leveraging philanthropic gifts with success at provincial, national, and international competitions. So I will leave the floor now to Dr. Cossette to make a short introduction on the Faculty of Medicine, and then to Dr. Ekat. Thank you very much to the speakers and to everyone for being here.
Thank you very much, Ikam, for this introduction. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here with you this morning or this evening. So good morning, good evening to everyone. J'aimerais dire un petit mot à nos collègues de la francophonie. Donc, un plaisir d'être avec vous ici aujourd'hui, ce matin ou ce soir, dépendamment du fuseau horaire où vous vous trouvez. First of all, I would like to thank Rebecca Gray and Oscar for this opportunity to exchange with the Pastoral Network Board today. And I would like to give a little bit of background before going into the more formal presentation. We have initiated conversation first with Ekmi Louzir, that you all know, the director of Tunis Pasteur Institute, about 2 years ago. And we have to understand that we have long-standing collaboration with the Faculty of Medicine in Tunisia, lasting for more than 50 years now. And we provided support for starting a new Faculty of Medicine in Sousse and Monastir in the 70s. And we also participate and have been heavily involved in the reform of their MD curriculum in Tunisia many years ago. So that was our first contact with Pasteur Network, and then we started discussion with ECMI, and eventually he introduced us to Rebecca in Paris a year ago to explore the opportunity to have more formal collaboration between UdeM and Faculty of Medicine and Pasteur Network. I'd say more formal collaboration because there's been a lot of collaboration between our researcher in Montreal and various parts of the network, especially Pasteur Institute in Paris. And we had the chance to participate to the annual meeting of Pasteur Network in Tunis last November, and also visited Pasteur Institute in Morocco, Tunis, and France. So ECAT will present briefly who we are, our strengths in research, especially, of course, in infectious disease, and how we see potential partnership between Pasteur Network and our Faculty of Medicine. But just before that, maybe two words on who we are and a few words on the mission of our faculty, which is based mainly on three pillars. So the first two are obvious for Faculty of Medicine, which is excellence in teaching and excellence in research. But I would like to recall that we have a third pillar, which is also equally important for us, which is social accountability, which it is literally in the DNA of our faculty since the beginning. And we could talk a little bit later about it and how we have been involved in various projects with these aspects. Second point is, as part of our strategic plan that we developed of the beginning of my mandate in 2020, we tried to define more specific objective for the international positioning of our faculty. And one thing we realize is that most of our researchers are very well positioned at the individual level, but we feel and we want to improve our collaborative network at the institutional level, having more formal collaboration with strong network. And this is where the idea of more formal collaboration with the Pasteur Network came to our mind. So we'd like eventually to elaborate more on this aspect over the next couple of minutes, but for the time being, I would leave the floor to Ekat, and she will present you who we are, our main strengths, and how we believe we could establish a productive collaboration between Université de Montréal, Faculty of Medicine, and the Pasteur Network. So I'll leave the floor for Ekat for the moment.
Merci Patrick. Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Ça fait plaisir d'être avec vous ce matin. And I'm delighted to see many people that I saw in Tunisia last year. So I'm going to share my screen. And do you see my presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So I'm going to give a brief overview of the Faculty of Medicine, and I'm going to focus mostly on area of interest that I discuss, and Patrick and myself, we discussed with many of you during the meeting in Tunis last year, but also other opportunities that we discussed with Oscar and Rebecca. I'm also, I'm going to mainly talk about research, but through research, I'm also going to talk about different training opportunities and other areas of potential collaboration. So very briefly, the Faculty of Medicine, it's the second in Francophonie. We're very proud of this. We have three sectors. So our three sectors are basically the medical school, so training doctors, but also training the next generation of scientists, so fundamental sciences, but also the next generation of health professionals through our health sciences sector, which includes nutrition, rehabilitation, speak languages within 15 departments and 3 schools. We have many training programs that I'm going to talk about them later on, but to highlight a few things, we train more than 50% of family doctors in Quebec. We also have a very strong PhD program in different disciplines that could be of interest, whether it could be neuroscience, infectious diseases, or biomedical sciences in general. So in terms of research, we work in close collaboration with our affiliated research centers and the hospitals through 400 professors and more than 2,000 clinical professors that they train more than 2,500 graduate students. We support research through major initiatives, basically funding through the Canadian and provincial government, but we believe very strong that we need to highlight certain areas of excellence in research, and I will come back to that through support of Canada Research Chairs, but also philanthropic chairs, and we hold 2 Canada Research Excellence Chairs in infectious diseases, and I will come back to this point later on during this talk. In terms of training programs, of course, we have our classic master's, PhD programs, but we're very keen in order to develop other means, whether there are summer schools, whether there are workshops. And I just want to highlight the fact that I was delighted to hear that many students from the Pasteur network are actually part of our microscopy workshop that runs every Wednesday for the whole month of June. I think the work gets out there because the world of science is very small. Everybody knows everybody. So I was, with the tools that we have currently, Zoom and Teams, we are very open to promote these collaborations in order to train students with the best tools available. So in terms of our network, I would just like to very briefly remind you that Montreal is an island. So all our research centers and affiliated hospitals are within the island of Montreal. Within the campus, we have our Center of Biomedical Innovation and Fundamental Research, and ERIC, which is basically focused on cancer. But one of the main strengths of the Faculty of Medicine is that we go from conception to end of life, because we have Sousse and Justine, which is our mother-child hospital, all the way to the CHUM, which is our adult hospital, and many other hospitals that they focus, let's say, in biofabrication and cell therapy, such as HMR, pharmacogenomics and precision medicine, the Montreal Heart Institute, but also a lot of research on mental health. Our main strengths are on neurosciences, cancers, cardiovascular disease, and infectious diseases. And especially in infectious diseases, we hold very strong collaborations with the Institute of Armand Frappier that you don't see here. It's on the other side. We just have to cross the bridge in order to get there. But many collaborations that are going on, especially at the virology field. Our priorities in the Faculty of Medicine, based on the strengths of affiliated centers, but also on successful initiatives over the last years, are really precision health and bioinnovation. Why? Because we believe that we have the strengths in order to develop new molecules, and I will come back to this, but also novel approaches, whether they pertain to gene and cell therapy. And we work in close collaboration with our affiliated hospitals in order to introduce different genomics approaches, for example, genomics, proteomics, and metabolomics, in order to characterize very well large cohorts.
Là, ça marche. Tout à l'heure, ça n'arrêtait pas de tourner en rond. Et quand je mets mon casque...
Votre casque, oui.
Marianne,
On ne l'entend pas.
Mais ça, c'est pas grave. J'ai juste besoin d'entendre.
On entend quelqu'un?
That's fine.
So one of
Go
the
ahead,
strengths of no problem. So one of the strengths of the University of Montreal is artificial intelligence and numeric health. So the university is very privileged to have Yoshua Bengio, one of the fathers of artificial intelligence, pre-Turing in 2023. Joshua has been working years in order to better understand how the brain works and develop better algorithms in order to introduce artificial intelligence in different fields. So in 2017, the University of Montreal got a major funding in order to promote artificial intelligence to help find solutions for energy, transport, a little bit of introducing also this mechanism in health, but I'll come back to that because we have recently initiated a major initiative that it's really focused on promoting artificial intelligence and digital health. The government of Canada over the last year put a major initiative on promoting preparation for pandemic preparedness. I'll speak about this later on, but we have been on the forefront of this initiative, and I think it's something that will be very, very of high interest for the Pasteur network members. And the Center of Biomedical Innovation is I would say a lighthouse project that was initiated by the Dean and myself in order to put in the map everything that has to do with fundamental science research within the campus of the University of Montreal. So upon our arrival, we decided that in 2020, we need to work on an interdisciplinary, intersectoral manner. And given that we have about 50 scientists in the campus working on fundamental research in different departments, we decided that people cannot, we really observe that people cannot work anymore on silos, whether it's biochemistry, whether it's microbiology, whether it's neuroscience. And in collaboration with the head of departments, but mostly the scientists, we brought them together in order to work more in transversal themes rather than departments. So we introduced 4 themes: structural and quantitative biology, cell signaling and communication, host pathogen environment interactions, and cellular systems neuroscience under the theme of modeling of living organisms. And for the purpose of this talk today, I'm going to mostly talk about the host pathogen environment interactions, but I'll be interested to further explore other opportunities, especially for structural and quantitative biology, where we have a really cutting edge development in cryo electron microscopy. So the host pathogen environment interactions theme really started to develop in 2018 with the arrival of Yves Brand, who's a professor working on a bacterial physiology. He was recruited at the University of Montreal through Canada Researcher 150, which was introduced by the government in order to attract stars around the world back in Canada. So the arrival of Yves really created an amazing momentum with scientists coming from around the world. So in 2020, we recruited Sven van Tiefelen from the Institut Pasteur from Paris. And just this year, we recruited Frédéric Leroux with the second competition of Canada Excellence Research Chair in order to develop a core that could really help us to address global challenges, so antibiotic resistance and how we can develop novel antibiotics. So it works really on bacterial cell wall physiology, whereas Frédéric is interested to understand antibiotic resistance in marine bacteria. So she's using Vibrios as model systems, and she likes to explore mechanisms of coevolution or bacteriophages and bacteria in nature in order to understand how coevolution affects the pathogenicity of bacteria, but also the specificity of bacteriophages. And this core at the campus in basic bacteriology really created a momentum in order to collaborate with affiliated hospitals and really ask real questions in terms of what are the bacteria we should be screening for and what are the needs in order to promote a continuum from fundamental to clinical research and back. So this project was a major priority that we submitted at the competition last year for the pandemic preparedness that was launched from the government of Canada. And I'm delighted to announce that this project was funded by the government of Canada for $21 million. It was announced just back in April. The idea was how we can use the forces of University of Montreal, such as bacteriology, artificial intelligence, in order to screen complex bacterial responses and identify new antibiotics. So it's a effort that it's led by UdeM, but brings together different partners across Canada in order to fine-tune the design, but also optimize synthesis in order to bring this further and make sure that we can bring this to the clinic. An important point of this grant, which arrived at the same time, was, of course, we want to screen complex phenotypes, but we cannot do this alone. There are different microscopy methods in order to train our AI models. So we're very lucky at the same time that this grant was funded to establish a collaboration with the Institut Pasteur in Paris. So a collaboration between Yves Brand and Ivo Boneca and Christoph Zimmer in order to use different microscopy methods to train our models and really identify what are the best methods to use to move forward. Part of this collaboration also involves a discovery of new anti-defense systems and involves Frédéric Leroux, who, as I mentioned, he works on vibriophages with Eduardo Roca in order to look more on the genetic aspect of non-defense mechanisms, but also identify new networks. So I mentioned the forces that we have in bacteriology. I would like very briefly to also discuss different forces that we have in virology in collaboration with our affiliated centers. So a lot of work on HIV, the University of Montreal through Eric Cohen, who's the Vice Dean professoral affairs, but also a renowned researcher in Canada. He's leading a major network, CanCure, on HIV. A lot of forces on SARS-CoV. We're very lucky that our network was mobilized very rapidly through the pandemic in order to work on development of new antivirals, but also in collaboration with the arrival of Moderna in Canada for development of new vaccines, and a lot of strengths within our Sousse and Sousse. Why? Because it's a mother-child hospital, so a new center that has been developed in infectiology in order to better understand mother-child transmissions. Another major network that was funded through the competition of pandemic preparedness in Canada was Popcorn. So how we address needs of vulnerable populations. And here I'm going to talk mostly about mothers and children. So at least in Canada, through the pandemic, we realized that we didn't really have the infrastructure in order to promote clinical trials, promote surveillance mechanisms, but also have a CRO who can address clinical trials for mothers and children. So there was a national network that was put in place, led by Caroline Quach, which is a renowned epidemiologist at the Sousse and Sousse, in order to put together a national coordinator center so we can be best prepared for the next pandemic. So this network involves different aspects, starting from biobanking, data governance, surveillance, epidemiology, but also putting together a coordinating center so we can do better clinical trials in the future. UdeM also has put together a One Health initiative. We're very lucky as a university to have a faculty of medicine, but also have a faculty of veterinary medicine, School of Public Health, and also a faculty of arts and sciences, who has a lot of expertise on climate change and contamination. So we're working all together in order to address complex issues, health. Climate change is also affecting Canada right now. So you might have heard about the prevalence we're starting having on Lyme disease. So we're very interested on working on zoonosis, vector-borne diseases, and antibiotic resistance in the context of climate change, but also address other issues such as mental health and cultural differences. I'm coming back to the AI because I think it's something very important that it's more and more on the news. So as I said, we really have taken a leadership on AI over the past 5 to 6 years. We got a major funding last year in order to promote a robust, reasonable, and more responsible AI. And this grant has many aspects, such as how we can better understand the brain in order to develop better algorithms, and how we can use these algorithms in order to promote AI for healthy Canadians, development of better technologies, but also development of resilient communities. So for the sake of this talk, I'm going to give you a few examples that they're mostly pertain on the discovery of materials and molecules, but also the development of clinical decision-making tools in collaboration with our different partners. So I already mentioned that one of the priorities is using AI for the development of new drugs and new antibiotics. I briefly mentioned the antibiotics, but we also, within our network, we have the Institute of Immunology and Cancerology. So IRIC has a drug screening platform where they have mostly expertise for the development of new drugs for cancer. So we're working the same approach as we work for new antibiotics in order to develop such programs. Another aspect that is of high interest, given the wealth of data that we have within our hospitals and the importance of data lakes within our hospitals, is really to combine clinical administrative data from our patients with different approaches from the research labs, whether it's proteomics, genomics, or other types of omics, a lot of imaging data in order to develop prediction as well as diagnostic tools. And we also work mostly with the most advanced areas are within our intensive care units, where they have been collecting data over the last 10 years to develop tools on prediction of responses of patients. We also have a very interesting program that works in order to put different tools for aging populations. So, for example, from our Center of Geriatric Research, what we're trying to do is develop intelligent houses for aging population and work with them in order to develop AI tools that can help them to be better adapted with their environment based on their needs. I didn't mention a lot the neuroscience part, and maybe the Dean can elaborate later on, given his expertise, but neuroscience is a major strength at the University of Montreal. Here I'm giving an example on neuroprosthesis, so using AI to identify the areas of stimulation in order to promote better motor control in here in animals, but eventually in collaboration with the hospitals in people that suffer from stroke or other degenerative diseases. I would like to switch now, talk a little bit about the training. So they did mention the importance of research and training within the faculty. So what are the tools that we have put forward in order to better train the next generation of scientists and clinician scientists within our network? Something we initiated at the beginning of our mandate is a PI crash course. We find that science gets more and more complicated, so how we can give the right tools to all the young investigators, professors that we bring to our network. and how we help them to transit into a faculty position and ensure that they have all the tools for success. So this is a 2-day workshop that we ran outside of Montreal, because for us it's important to bring the faculty together, and this is led by my office but in collaboration with many professors, scientists that they're mid-career or seniors, in order to bring people together from different disciplines. So we talk about lab management, student recruitment and mentorship, leadership, and also how we can become more entrepreneur and how we can train our students to become more entrepreneurs in different manners. The University of Montreal has also recently received some major funding from philanthropy in order to promote more training programs for students, and we're working in collaboration to develop different workshops, summer schools that could be of interest to the Pasteur network. We also develop a program for clinician scientists. Why? Because we find that we need to really ensure that our clinician scientists have protected time in order to do research. So the faculty initiated a funding program in collaboration with the clinical services of the affiliated centers to contribute to the salary or the operating funds for our clinicians and ensure they have a success throughout their career. I'm very proud to say that we have been funding around 6 to 10 scholarships since 2021, so funded more than 35 to 40 clinicians up to date. And these clinicians have shown more than 80% success in national competitions, which ensures that we have given them the right tools in order to have a successful research program. We have also initiated many partnerships, and I wanted to touch upon a few of them right here. So we're working in collaboration with the Institute Armand Frappier in terms of pandemic preparedness. I was very happy to see Laurent has joined the call today, but I know that there are many collaborations led by Andres Finzi and other researchers in order to better understand disease mechanisms, but also develop different tools, whether it's antivirals or new vaccines. I briefly mentioned the collaboration we have with the Institut Pasteur. We got a major funding in order to develop better microscopy tools to screen for new antibiotics. There are many collaborations also with Tunisia and Morocco. I was privileged to also visit in person the last year. So they did mention the research and clinical fellowships we currently have with the 4 faculties of medicine in Tunisia. So how we can best train clinician scientists that they can go back and be also innovative in their fields. We have developed also different collaborations with Institut Pasteur in Morocco, but also the University UdeM, and there are many opportunities that are coming up in terms of climate change and infectious diseases, but also other fields through Horizon Europe and the Grand Challenges Canada. So as we see the collaborations between the Faculty of Medicine and the International Pasteur Network based on our strengths, but also complementary expertise that we share with many members, is really put forward the expertise for the Center for Biomedical Innovation and Pandemic Preparedness in order to ask the right questions. Which are the antibiotics we should be screening for, and what are the current needs globally? I mentioned the field of neuroscience and artificial intelligence, that we think we have many strengths that we can work with you, especially in order to better understand neurodevelopmental and neurologic diseases and understand and develop better interventions and treatments, but also how we better understand how we put forward mother and child health, and how we develop better tools, but also how we can introduce better tools for clinical trials and also ultimately better treat these populations. In terms of training, I already mentioned the training program for clinician scientists. We're interested in student mobility, because we think that science has no frontier. So exchange is an important aspect in order to better train and better prepare our young scientists for the future, but also in the areas of expertise and of our interest, how we can develop different training opportunities, whether they're summer schools and student exchange for omics, bioinformatics, but also immunology and infectious diseases. So I'm gonna stop here. I thank you for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.